My wife breastfeeds our baby very strangely in the middle of the night and always covers his face completely. Every time she would tell me not to turn on the light, and every time I asked her why she didn't turn on the light, she always avoided talking about it. Until one day, I finally couldn't resist taking a picture with my phone while my wife was asleep, but I was so shocked by what I saw. What the hell is going on here? Welcome to today's episode of True Life Story. Stay tuned, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Do well to like, share and please drop a comment. Love you. In a very popular city in Nigeria lived a 35-year-old man called Kingsley. Kingsley had been married to Miriam for 7 years. When Kingsley was 28, he met his current wife, who was a very introverted girl. She never liked to communicate with others ever since she was a kid because she grew up in a very bad environment. Her parents fought and quarreled a lot. Her father was very violent and he would always hit her mother at every slight mistake. Whenever they fought, Miriam would always hide in the corner of the house, so she became very introverted. She didn't like contact with anyone so much that many people thought my wife was mentally unstable. In fact, now I think it's true. Miriam and I were introduced to each other because we were already 28 years old and it was our first time to fall in love. So, Kingsley cherished Miriam so much that as soon as possible, they were ready to get married. Under the care of Kingsley and his mom, Miriam also slowly became more cheerful and became more happy, sitting around with people, socializing and gisting with neighbors. She also talked, laughed, and even hung out with a lot of people. So Kingsley was so happy about this improvement and thought it wise that it would be important to have a baby because this was going to complete their union. Miriam agreed to it, but then it took too much time for Miriam to conceive, and they both had to go from hospital to hospital for examination, which showed that Miriam had infertility. In order to have this child, Miriam tried all kinds of methods and medications. Whenever she heard of a place that could treat infertility, she would go and try, but then no positive result. But just when Kingsley and Miriam were almost depressed and desperate, their neighbor came with a news. The news seemed to be a good news on hearing it, but little did they know that everything was about to go south. This neighbor was an old woman. She came and assured Miriam and Kingsley that she had a solution to their childlessness. Kingsley never trusted this woman. She looked really weird, and Kingsley told his wife Miriam about it, but his wife got very defensive. Miriam said, "I don't mind going through whatsoever our neighbor suggests I do." But Kingsley tried to make her see that this neighbor she was going to for help didn't also have a child and was almost 60 years old, no companion, nothing. Miriam never took heed of my warnings and insisted that she was going to do anything and everything to have a child. Suddenly, Miriam started visiting our neighbor frequently, and she comes home sick and extremely tired, as if she has been drained. She also asked that we had sex in a very strange and weird way, just to conceive. It was extremely strange that sometimes she wants us to go to weird places to be together. Miriam gradually started losing her mind. She began to behave and look like a mad woman. Soon enough, Miriam got pregnant and she shared the good news with me. But then her behavior changed again. Miriam would stay in a dark room alone, turning off the lights in the room and speaking to no one, not even me, her husband, except the neighbor when she comes around. Then her mood will be lighting up. Miriam was pregnant, but her belly was not growing. There were times where Kingsley had wanted to run away because of how strange his wife, Miriam, had turned out. But soon it was 9 months and Miriam hadn't given birth. It was so strange. But at almost a year, something happened. One day, Kingsley was outside his house when the neighbor came and went inside my house. Minutes later, she came out and said my wife had given birth to a baby. Kingsley was shocked, but then he asked to see the baby, but the old woman refused Kingsley from seeing his wife and his baby. Then Kingsley asked for the child's gender. But the old woman still didn't respond to Kingsley. Miriam had a knife by her side all throughout the pregnancy and even throughout the delivery. Kingsley had to stop his family members from visiting because he didn't want them to see Miriam in that condition. He couldn't even tell them she was pregnant because he didn't understand the pregnancy. Now the baby is here, but Kingsley couldn't see the baby. Miriam would only breastfeed the baby in a dark room, especially at night. All Kingsley heard is baby's cry, and all he saw is his baby's legs. Whenever Miriam wants to bathe the baby, she would invite their old neighbor, who would help her to excuse Kingsley by speaking to him that the baby needs his mom's attention. Whenever Miriam wants to breastfeed her baby, she covers the baby's face completely before she breastfeeds the baby. One night, Kingsley was fed up and he knew Miriam would attack him if he turned on the light. So he decided to take a picture with his phone, and what he saw was shocking. My so-called baby had a face of a very old person. It was squeezed and rumpled and had a very long ears like that of an elf. Kingsley was both shocked and devastated at the sight of this baby. The next morning, he went to the neighbor to confront the neighbor and ask, what exactly did she give to his wife, Miriam, that made her give birth to a baby that looked as old as she looked? On getting to this neighbor's house, Kingsley knocked on the door severally, but there was no response from inside. And then Kingsley tried to push the door open, but then the door seemed locked. A neighbor that seemed to have nowhere to go suddenly isn't around. Today of all days, Kingsley thought to himself. But then, since she wasn't around to answer his questions, his wife should be able to answer these questions. Then, he went back home and asked his wife, Miriam, I really want to see the face of my baby. I want to see the child you said you gave birth for me. Can I see his face? But Miriam refused. She was so violent. She looked like an angry tiger that was going to tear apart anybody or anything that comes close to their child. Kingsley was not even surprised by her reaction, but then he had already made up his mind that whatsoever was going to happen is going to happen today. He was ready to see the face of his child, which he eventually did. And then he asked, "Why do my child look like this?" Miriam couldn't give an explanation for that, but all she could say was, "This baby is still a child. Give him time to grow. He would look like who he is supposed to look like." Kingsley said, "Is that all you have to say to me? With this baby looking like this woman next door, you tell me this baby is going to grow to look like who he's supposed to look like? Really?" Kingsley was really upset and he went back to the neighbor's house. Unfortunately, she wasn't back. Almost 2 hours now. He forcefully opened the door and he found out that the house was totally empty. Hey, problem day. Kingsley eventually thought about this and he realized that everything this old woman did to his wife was diabolical. It wasn't pure. It wasn't organic at all. This old woman next door has actually given his wife, Miriam, some diabolical things to eat, to drink, and to do, which had made her conceive a total spiritual being that exists in their family now. And now, this next door old woman can no longer be found. She is nowhere to be found. Up till now, we are still waiting on her arrival. Kingsley was so frustrated at this point. He does not know what to do with his child. Neither does he know the whereabouts of this old woman. But then, they had to do something about the baby. They took the baby to different churches, different spiritual houses, which made it known to them that this old woman was now the new baby delivered into their family to continue the lineage and their diabolical representation on earth. This story get as a bill. That was how they prayed and fasted and casted out demons upon demons. Glory be to God. This child is now in a normal form, but the parents are still working extra to make sure that the child is safe and away from anything that has to do with diabolical things. With the help of God, this child is growing well and perfect. Moral lesson: God's time is the best. Please, viewers, make sure that you do not end up like Miriam, desperate or frustrated over something God can actually give you willingly. All you need to do is communicate with Him through prayers, and whatsoever you want is going to be given to you for free. You don't need to pay. You don't need to consult any oracle. You don't need to do anything diabolical. Just prayers, just communication, just talking to God. And all of this is yours. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please do well to share. And please like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. See you in our next video. Bye.